Hi guys, welcome back to Mish Reads. Today we're going to be doing my January reading wrap up. It was a great month. I had a really great start to the year, and yeah, let's talk about all the things I read this month. So, the first thing I read, oh hello. Hello. Say hello to the fans. This Howard. He's a little old man. Anyway, the first book I finished this month, I wrapped up Mistborn Era 1 with the Hero of Ages on actually New Year's Day. So really started off the year strong, but I gave that one a 5 stars. I thought it was incredible ending to the series. It was really emotional. Everything came together full circle. I had a couple guesses of what was going on, and it was really fun to see that I was right about one of the things, but not in the way that I thought I was. And then yeah, just really satisfying to see how everything came together, and I miss those characters. I will definitely be doing a reread at some point. I can see myself reading it again, because the second one was my least favorite, but I think upon a reread it'll be fun to sort of see the differences, and or well, not the differences, but see the things I missed or the little breadcrumbs that maybe were there that I didn't pick up on. So yeah, I think that'll be a fun series to do a reread for at some point. And then after that, I jumped right into Mistborn Era 2 with the Alloy of Law. This one I gave a 4 stars. It was very fun. One thing I will say is if you're not a big fan of like a lot of snarky banter, like think almost like Marvel snarky banter back and forth, and this maybe won't be your thing, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was fun. And it was a really cool expansion of the magic system without going into like spoilers for Era 1. As you find out things about Era 1, there are kind of two sort of types of people. And since we're many generations after, in Mistborn Era 2, we have some interactions between like two magic types that is really interesting to see how that plays out. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that one. I've heard really great things. I've heard some people say you can skip it, and then other people who love it are kind of horrified to hear that. So I think I'm definitely going to be, I know I'm going to be one of the people that reads it, but yeah, I'll definitely keep you guys updated on how I'm liking that one. Then for number 3 of this month, I read Finding Me by Viola Davis. This was her memoir, and I listened to it, so it was read by her, and it was absolutely incredibly performed. I think it won an award for the audiobook production, and I think that was very well deserved. She has an incredible story of overcoming trauma and figuring out who she is, as is implied by the title. But yeah, just a very emotional and powerful story, and it made me appreciate her a lot more as a person, outside of just admiring her as an actress. So really recommend that one. Then I read The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. Yeah, this was 2 stars for me. I didn't really feel like she knew what she wanted the book to be. There were so many things that she just told us, but then didn't back it up with actually showing us. I felt this really strongly with the characterization of our main narrator. We were told that she was a certain way, but then all the ways that she was behaving really contradicted that. I'm trying to think if I can, I guess, spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear about this book, then, and you still want to read it, then skip ahead. But eventually we find out that she's a felon. She has been in jail for killing someone. And we find out that she has this, like, barely contained rage, and she can really like channel that anger if she's feeling threatened. And the entire time, and as she's working for this family, and she's just getting messed with by the wife in particular, she's just taking it. And I get it that it's because she's vulnerable. She doesn't want to lose this job. She needs the money. She needs this, and she can't, she doesn't want to go back to jail, so she needs to maintain employment. But I was just kind of like screaming at her for all of the decisions she was making. And then on top of that, I was getting very annoyed. Every single chapter ended on like a dun 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 type of sentence, like, we're going along, and then, but I had a feeling that I wasn't safe. And then we go along and on, but I still couldn't shake the feeling that this was not a good thing. And I don't know, I just didn't love the writing style. So not a fan of that one. It's hinted at that he's cursed by something. So these two characters, we have Locke and we have Lachlan and Kiana, but they have a very wholesome love story. I felt it unfolded really well. They start off kind of not liking each other, and that because, they get off on the wrong foot, he kind of says something that offends her and she just thinks he's rude. But then we quickly go from that into them admitting that they're attracted to each other, and that the whole like kind of thinking each other is annoying was very obviously a way of trying to convince themselves that they didn't actually have those feelings. And so I felt like it tiptoed around the idea of, this like enemies to lovers that's really just like insta attraction and slight annoyance. Like, I think it did it really well, and it didn't try and force the I hate you vibes. They really just kind of bickered for a couple of chapters, and then they were like, no, actually, like, I'm very attracted to you. So it was very cute. And yeah, I gave that one 4 stars. I will definitely read more from this author. So number 6, Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I will say, of his standalones, this one is my least favorite that I've read so far. I will say Dark Matter and Recursion for me were way stronger, and I enjoyed them a lot more, but Upgrade was good. The premise of this has to do with, essentially, our main character works for the Genetic Protection Agency, the GPA, as a way to sort of repent for his mother and his sins. His mother was this, like, groundbreaking scientist, and she worked on genetic modifications as a way to, potentially address certain environmental conditions that affected maybe food quality or things like that. And so they had created a genetic mutation for wasps that would in some way help the production of a staple crop. And they released all these wasps in China. And then something goes wrong and it causes a worldwide famine, and like millions of people die, and his mom sort of disappears. So he has to face trial for her crimes, and then becomes very staunchly against genetic modification and joins the GPA. So it's an interesting like familial drama in that sense, and then him wrestling with the concept of genetic modification in general. And then he mysteriously starts to feel different after one of his assignments goes wrong. So it was good, very clearly, like it makes direct references to COVID, I believe. So it was definitely influenced by the pandemic, and it was good. I just felt that the emotional through line and the heart that Blake Crouch was able to put in both Dark Matter and Recursion for me was not there in this one. It was there a little bit, but it just didn't work quite as well as it did in the other two. So yeah, definitely check it out if you like his writing. It was still really good, very fast paced, very much just keeps you going. I'm getting visited by all the cats. Say hello, Burger. What do you have to say? Nothing? No. Okay. All right, so jumping right off of that, I went into Wayward by Blake Crouch. This one I'm still trying to settle on a rating for. I'm kind of feeling like a 3.5, 4 vibes. I liked it a little bit better than Pines, but I sort of had this realization that I actually think this whole trilogy would have worked pretty well as like a big chunky sci-fi book instead of 3 individual books, because I'm not completely sold that each book, the narrative that it's trying to follow in each book, is necessarily worth its own standalone. But I am really enjoying the concept and the writing and the overall story. I'm just not, I don't know, I don't know how I feel about the structure of each book independently. But this one's going to be kind of fun. I didn't know that it was made into a TV show. So Kristen and Mads, their Page to Screen Patreon group, they're going to be doing Pines this month. And so I've already read the book, so I'm just going to, watch the show and hang out with them on their Patreon and see what we think of the show adaptation. But yeah. Number 8 is my best friend's Exorcism. I gave this one 4 stars, mainly because of the heart of the book being the friendship between our 2 main characters and how that really was the driving through line of everything in the story. I will say people who won't like this book are the types of people who get annoyed by overly heavy-handed like 80s references, lots of show names, lots of music names, song names, bands, like Grady Hendrix wanted us to know we were in the 80s. And then with that, definitely be wary if any sort of like commentary or political ideology from back then is something you don't want to read about. So, for example, they use the R word, they make lots of racist comments, homophobic comments, misogynistic comments. There's a whole scene where the school is doing like a slave day, which is obviously very, very problematic and uncomfortable. And I think specifically in that scene, it worked, in my opinion, because it set up a specific interaction between the two friends where one of them had to do what the other one was telling her. So for me, I didn't feel like it was just there for shock and awe, but I can also see why someone would think that it's completely inappropriate and shouldn't have been put in. I think I also have this like understanding that I know that schools probably did stuff like that. I mean, I know that even when I was in school in the, early 2000s, that my elementary school, and the people in it did things that were problematic. And obviously we know that things like that probably still happen in certain areas today. So, I think it's something where it's okay in the sense that like we shouldn't pretend that people don't behave that way, but also needs to be a topic that's handled really carefully because it is something to be taken seriously. So, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that one if you've read it. It's something I've been kind of mulling over this month ever since I read it, but I definitely think that the overall arc of the book I was really happy with. I thought the ending was really sweet and really satisfying. The wrap up for the main tension, the main action of the book, I will say, it is kind of cheesy. So if you're not a fan of like corniness, maybe this won't be for you. And then if you're not a big fan of like body horror, there's lots of like gross like puking bug things. There's this whole horrific scene with like a tapeworm. So if any of that kind of body stuff bothers you, just don't read it. This won't be for you. I don't think. It was kind of gross. But yeah, did a great job making me feel scared and making me feel tense through the whole story. So I would definitely read another book from this author. Yeah. The next book I read was for the Brady and Rosie book talk. This was the Alice Network. I think initially I gave it a 5 stars, and I think I'm kind of I'm rethinking that slightly, only because of the multiple sort of arcs that were going through this story. I'm not super thrilled with how one in particular ended, but I'm happy with how most of it ended. So I'm thinking like a 4.5. But what I liked about it is it kind of went back and forth from more tense, action-packed POV taking place in World War I to this very quiet road trip through France. So you get this back and forth, and you get sort of a break from the anxiety, and you get a break from the tension, and then you get put back in it. There's a little bit of a mystery element. There's things that are being, kept from you as you're reading the story, and overall, I felt like it was a really strong book, and I liked it a lot. The next one I read is Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh. I initially gave this a 4, but I think it's going up to be a 4.5. I don't know if I've given any mystery or thriller a solid 5 stars, but for me, this one gets close because I love it when a book surprises me and I can't guess the twist. And I thought that this story did a great job hiding certain things from you in a way that was believable. A pet peeve of mine is when an author is clearly trying to bury the lead and hide something from you, but it makes their characters appear dumb, or there's just things that are illogical because they're trying to keep something from you. This did a great job of hiding the twist in plain sight, and so that worked really, really well for me. And then the other thing that worked really well for me is it has a slightly ambiguous ending. Like, not everything is wrapped up in a perfectly neat bow, and sometimes in mysteries and thrillers I don't love that, because after all the tension, drama, like all of the anxiety of the book, I want a clean ending. And sometimes I get annoyed when a mystery or thriller author doesn't give you that. And I think it's because, to me, it just feels a little bit like I just kind of roll my eyes when they want to leave it too open-ended. But this one has a strong reason why there's a loose end. You can understand the choices that the characters make, and you can understand the reasoning behind it. So that just worked really well for me, and I had a really great time with it. I liked the multiple different POVs, and yeah, it was a really good one. Right after that, I went into another mystery thriller, One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. Honestly, didn't really like this. It was just kind of okay. I think the reason I gave it a 3 stars is because the overall message was really strong. It talks a lot about misogyny in modern times and some of the ways that men can be, like interpersonal violence between men and women. So that was really, strong. But as far as the actual mystery thriller, there was no twists and turns. The main thing that happens in the book just sort of happens at the beginning, and then they just sort of deal with it, and then it ends, and there's no reveal, nothing like that at all, all just sort of ends. And the other thing that really made me annoyed is our main character is a scientist, and yet I felt like she was not thinking like a scientist. There were things, and like granted, I know that not all scientists are good at every single type of science, but for me, it's like the author wanted her to be positioned as such a logical person, but then there were things that choices that she made that were illogical. So the premise of the book is it's a like a Love Island meets like Survivor. So it's all these couples stuck on an island, and then they get stranded there, and then they have to like learn how to survive. And I just felt like even though the like main character scientist woman, she's not an engineer, she's not I appreciated that they weren't trying to make her like a Gilligan's Island level of like the professor being able to do all these crazy things, but I was frustrated that she didn't attempt some things to make their lives easier, if that makes sense, without giving too much away. But yeah, I mean, it was okay. I like this author a lot, but I'm finding more and more that she's a more hit or miss for me. So then after that, I read Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This is the third book in her Rebel Blue Ranch series, and I gave the first book in that series, Done and Dusted, a 3, which is just okay. And then I gave the second one a 2, which might be an unpopular opinion. I'm going to scooch out of the direct sun there. Might be kind of an unpopular opinion, but yeah, the second one just didn't really work for me. I think the reason the third one did, though, is because we saw these characters in both books 1 and 2, and so their characterization was a lot stronger, and I believed their relationship so much more as a result of knowing them as characters more. Nothing felt super rushed, and I just believed their relationship. The only thing I didn't love is, as far as happily ever afters go, it was just a little too much for me. They, like, make all these decisions all at once together, and I much prefer when we get our happily ever after that they don't just rush right into like the wedding and babies stuff. I think it's great, it's fine, it's really common in romances, and I have nothing against it. If you're gonna do that, you give me like a 1 year from now, 2 years from now, like make me believe that these two people are in a responsible romantic relationship and not just like rushing into things. But that's just my personal opinion. And then the last book I read I finished up The Fellowship of the Ring. I had such an amazing time with this. This was a 5 stars, easy 5 stars. It made me really emotional at times because I love this series so much, and I watched the movies with my son for the first time, and having him ask questions about it and remember things and be excited to watch with me. I can't wait to read these with him. I have them on audio, so we're going to be able to listen to them. And yeah, I annotated it, this is the first time I've ever annotated and tabbed a book. And yeah, it just means a lot. I know this is going to be a book I come back to, and I can't wait to read the next 2. So, loved. And I finally got to read from my beautiful copies. These were, I think they're like a faux leather. I don't think they're real leather, but a faux leather binding that was done through Barnes & Noble a couple years ago. So they came in this very lovely box set. So yeah, we've got all of them there. Have some great embossed moments here. We have the back. Yeah, I just love this edition. I love this set, and I love seeing it on my shelf. It makes me really happy, and it makes me happy also to finally read from the books themselves after just staring at them for the past couple of years. So I would love to hear what you guys read this month, some of your favorites, some of your not so favorites, anything you're planning on reading next month. I already sat down and wrote my February TBR, and there's a lot of stuff on there. I have a lot of ambitions. We'll see what I get to. But yeah, thanks for chatting with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!